y'all, I'm Krystal and welcome back to my Texas garden. Today I'm going to show y'all how to grow lemongrass from the grocery store. Now if you're new around here, welcome. And if you're all about gardening naturally, well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to smash the bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new video. Lemongrass is probably hands down my most favorite herb to grow in the garden. Well, next to that would be basil. Now, what I like about lemongrass is it's really a no-fuss plant. It is a grass, so it kind of grows like a weed for me. It's just one of those plants that you put in the garden and you don't really have to tend to it. And it gives you more than you give to it. Just a really, really cool plant. Now, lemongrass is used a lot in Thai cooking. It also makes a really wonderful tea. Not only is lemongrass edible, but it's also medicinal. Lemongrass is also known as a snake deterrent. And come to think of it, I've actually never seen snakes around mine or Mama Lie's lemongrass, ever. Mosquitoes aren't fans of lemongrass either. But in order to keep the mosquitoes at bay, you have to kind of crush the leaf so the scent comes out of the leaf, and then you can kind of rub it on you. And that will temporarily keep the mosquitoes off of you. Now, lemongrass for zones 8 and above grows as a perennial. It does not tolerate frost at all, and it'll actually die back at your first frost. Before our first frost is expected, what I do is I take and harvest all of my lemongrass. I cut it right down to ground level, and then I'll cover it up with some mulch and freeze what I've harvested. And in the springtime, my lemongrass comes back better than new. In zones where the ground freezes really hard, I would suggest growing lemongrass in a big pot and moving it inside for the winter. Now, you can start lemongrass from seeds, and some of my favorite seed companies do carry lemongrass seeds. However, I grew up watching Mama Lie go to the Asian market, grab her a bundle of lemongrass, and root it in some water. Now, just before the polar vortex hit Texas, we actually had a couple of small freezes that I wasn't expecting. And the lemongrass that I was trying to revive during the fall actually got hit pretty hard, and I lost every bit of my lemongrass. After we started thawing out from the polar vortex, on our first trip out to go check on Mama Lie's house, we actually stopped at the Asian market so I can grab some more lemongrass because I knew I was going to need it. By the way, she grabbed some too because her lemongrass, it bit the dust too. So this is basically what I picked up at the Asian market. It was 8 stalks for $1.99. And what I did immediately is I came home and I stuck it in a little bit of water. Just like that, not too much water, just enough to kind of cover the bottoms there. And I've left it for about a month, and you can see every single one of them are growing roots. Some better than others. Now, the only place that I have seen that I can grow lemongrass from is the Asian market. The American markets, the ones that you can buy kind of prepackaged, they cut too much of the end off. They actually cut way up here, past where the roots would actually start to grow from. So I've actually never tried it from the American market. I just look at it and go, wow, that's probably not gonna root because it's above that line where I know the roots are gonna grow from. And just to show you, the roots grow right from the bottom. I'm gonna call this the butt of the plant. So you have the stalk right here that was cut, and then you see how the root is coming out there. And I'll show you guys a couple more examples. So that's why I suggest going to an Asian market. Now, when you go to the Asian market, you don't want to get lemongrass that's got a lot of dead on it, like this. That means it's been sitting for a while. You also don't want the tip here to be discolored. When I initially bought this, these tips were very nice and green, kind of white color, you know, very, very clean. This, how dark it is, it's because it's been sitting for over a month in water. So this is another indication that it's older. Now, I'm not saying that that's not going to root for you. I'm just saying it might have a harder time rooting. And honestly, these are just some of the things that I look for in my own personal experience from growing from the grocery store. So we want nice stalks that have no dead, no dying leaves like this. You want it to actually look like this, okay? Nice green stalk. That means it's really, really fresh. And you don't want any discoloration on the ends. Anytime you're doing a water method to get something to root, really need to change out that water every couple of days, just because it can get kind of murky and ugly, and you don't want any mold or anything like that to grow in your water. So just every couple of days, change out your water. Now, some of these I did not cut the tops, and others like this one, I did go ahead and trim off the top. And as you can really see, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference whether you're cutting the top of it off or leaving it whole like this. It's really recommended that you clean the outer leaves off, like I've done here, which I have failed to do here. And that could be the reason why this one has had a harder time rooting. So we're going to clean this off real quick, and we're going to put this one back in water for a few more days. Okay, there you go. I've cleaned this all up, and you can actually see the root bumps that are coming out. And we've got a little baby plant there too. So this one is going to go back into water for a few more days before I put it in soil. These other ones are going to go straight into some soil today. So after your lemongrass sits in the water for about a month, the roots should look something like this. They can also look like this too. And now it's time to get these potted up into some soil. Now I've got my prepared potting soil here, and I'm just going to pre-moisten it, just like I do all of my potting soil before I put anything into it. And this is just regular potting soil, and these are not very big pots because they won't be living in here for very long. All right, so we're going to take our lemongrass of choice. This is a nice piece. It's already got the grass is growing out really tall, and it's got a nice root system. And I'm just going to clean it up just a tiny bit here. And I do suggest, y'all, when you get home with your lemongrass, to go ahead and clean the outer leaves off. It's just going to make it a lot easier for it to root and grow. And if you do choose to take the tops off because it's more aesthetically pleasing, don't throw those away. Clean them up, put them in the freezer, and put them into some soup or stir fry. All right, so we're just going to come in here. We're just going to make a hole in the center, give it lots of room for the roots. And I probably made my hole too deep. So what we're going to do is we're just going to plant up to this, what I'm calling the butt. It goes from the stem, and then it starts into where the leaves are. So I call this the butt of the plant. So we're going to plant right up to here. Our roots in there. Make sure they've got lots of room. And start packing our soil down. And like I said, y'all, this is just regular potting soil, and then we're going to water it well. You want to make sure that these starts really stay kind of moist. For the first couple of months of their life, you want their roots to grow. And that's the first one. Now this one right here, I did clean it up, and I also cut the top off. And as you can see, we've got some nice grass greens growing from the top, and we've got some roots here. And so again, we're just going to plant up to this kind of butt part of the plant. Right there, it goes from the stem, and then this is where the leaves really do start. Make a little hole. We don't want to smush the roots in there. Make a hole big enough for the roots, so they're nice and comfortable going into the soil. And then pack your soil around the plant. Very, very easy. And y'all, this is probably the only time in this lemongrass's life that it's going to get a lot of babying and a lot of attention. Because after it goes into the garden, that's it. Now for $1.99, and here in Texas, there is no tax on food. This was considered a food item. So for $1.99, I essentially have 8 plants. If I was to buy 8 different plants from the big box store at, let's say conservatively at $5 a piece, I would be spending $40. This way, I am spending less than 25 cents a plant. This is a considerable savings. All it takes is a little time and a little patience, and you've got your very own lemongrass plant. Now, if you're wondering how fast this lemongrass plants are going to grow, this one plant right here, this one right here, has the potential to grow about 4 foot tall by about 4 foot wide, and that is with me cutting on it and harvesting all summer long. Lemongrass is one of those plants that, man, the more you harvest, the more it puts out, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It seriously gives you more than you give it. Now these 3 have not rooted very well at all. I'm gonna go ahead and clean out their water, give them some new water, and take them back in and see if they will, and let them root some more. So I've cleaned this one up. I've cleaned this one up. Now let's clean this one up right here. Oh yeah, it has lots of root bumps. So we're just gonna give it some more time, and we'll have 3 additional plants here. And this one right here, I potted her up a week and a half ago. She has been out here for a week and a half, and you can see that she's already really kind of starting to mature. Her stalk is turning nice and brown at the bottom. All of them will do that, even out in the garden. You'll see that happen out in the garden as well. Right now, they're really nice and pretty and green, but they will end up kind of turning that dark brown color. She is a little wind whipped because, man, for the last 3 days, the wind has been crazy. Now, the only thing that these plants need right now is water. We want to make sure that the soil does not dry out. Set a reminder on your phone. Make sure that you come out and water these plants because the roots are still growing and developing, and they really need that moist soil to continue to do that. For more great gardening videos just like this one, go ahead and click right here and I'll meet y'all over there.